we became is what the diviners dreamed of being and failed on an epic scale.
Don't shorten your dress. They would never
to me.
They would
ever.
never make you walk in a dress
on my
that
level,
much
Nicole.
longer.
You never will be on my level.
Honestly, July was a pretty decent reading month for me. I read 5 books in total. 2 of them were practically garbage.
Trash.
2 were amazing. And one book was just... You know when you read a book and your own perception of life and things you thought you knew about writing and words, when it just shifts and changes? That was me. But before I get to that book, let me talk about all the other books I read in July leading up to that moment, starting from my absolute least favorite, aka the garbage entry on this list, moving on to the top boss of them all. Starting with The Baller by Keeland. I listened to this on audio. Now, what is The Baller about? The Baller follows Delilah. She's a news reporter who just got the big break of her career. She's able to go into the locker rooms to actually interview the players. Now, our father used to be a player, an American football player, and so she's really good at her job. She's really good at the stats. She really knows the numbers, because this, I repeat, is something that she has been familiar with all her life. And so she gets this big break. She gets the opportunity to interview the star quarterback for the team, goes there, asks Brody the question, and Brody drops the towel around his waist, going naked for that millisecond when she's live. She loses her train of thought. They have this batter thing, all the sexual tension, and then she walks away. Brody, of course, finds her utterly and completely irresistible, you know, as expected from this girl that did not even... Yeah, sure, she looked down at the pants. I mean, clearly it's got a big dick, so she's thinking, ooh, damn. See, but she still manages to pull together the tatters of her attention and her professionalism to get the job done. And Brody finds this irresistible. Brody has a dirty mouth, a dirty mouth. It's very unprofessional. But you see, apparently that little bit of sexual harassment was just for him to show, you know, the fact that, yeah, baby, I'm really confident, you know, you want it. Because somewhere in his head is like, yo, I like that girl. I find that very challenging. Apparently, dropping your towel in the middle of a live interview is the modern adult version of pulling on the girl's pigtails. And surprisingly, it works because, you know, pigtails, or in this case, dick, I guess. See, Brody started this book off quite an interesting character. It made me laugh sometimes. I felt very infuriated with him and this privileged way in which he went through this world, like, oh, the world owed him something, and then in some rare moments it will show this bouts of humanity and vulnerability. I just like, oh. And then you also realize the fact that there's this elderly woman who is the grandmother of his ex-girlfriend who used to be a drug addict, right? Her grandmother has Alzheimer's, or is it dementia? I'm not sure. But basically, she's losing her memory. He's been religiously going to go and see her every week. That is in addition to the fact that he has her in this snazzy, really upscale retirement home where she's getting the best of care and she's having a ball in the moment when she's not caught in the past, remembering all the terrors and every single thing that she went through with regards to her granddaughter. Like, Brody is your filthy man with a heart of gold. And I was just like, okay, fine. If this is the basic ass story that Keeland wants to give us, I would gobble this shit with a spoon. And I was just like, okay, it's not bad. The sexual tension, I was expecting like a 10, because when you start off your story by having your main love interest drop trousers and show his schlong on interview, technically it didn't show it because the camera was like here, you know, but technically the girl Delilah saw it. You know, when you start a book on that premise, I expect to be fed with a lot of sexual desire and tension, and I didn't really get it. Like, if I was to rate the sexiness and the sex scale, maybe like a 6. The book was like a decent 3.5 stars for me for a while, and then boom, Keeland does this exact same thing that she did in the very first book of hers I read was, I think, Inappropriate. Yes, Inappropriate, because this is the second Keeland book I've read. Inappropriate has this girl who is working for this company, and her boss basically, like, she gets fired for some reason, and then the boss of her boss basically hires her, but it's also very young, and you know, the really young hot billionaires that look nothing like the billionaires we see on TV. Definitely not like Jeff Bezos' bald head, but no, like, these billionaires are hot. I noticed something that she had actually done in Inappropriate, and she brought it back into this book, mainly the fact that she suddenly plops us in the head of another character. Let me explain. The main characters in this story so far are Brody and Delilah. Brody is the player, Delilah is the sportscaster. Easy, right? All of a sudden, like 60% in, she brings in the perspective of Brody's ex-girlfriend. Add the fact that just as in Inappropriate, she spends so much time in Brody's head, focused on Brody's feelings and emotions for his ex-girlfriend. Like, I knew that she was trying to bring all this whole thing as drama in the story with regards, oh, is Brody ready to move on? But I just thought it was overused and not properly done, because what she did was she invested us so much in Brody's relationship with his ex-girlfriend, and we did not get enough investment in Brody's relationship with Delilah. I'm just like, I was just thinking, like, what the fuck? Also, Delilah, girl, if you were in this boy's head, if you were in this boy, I'm not calling him any man. If you're in this boy's head, you would run, because you'd be like, yo, this boy is still obsessed with his girlfriend. Like, that was legitimately what she did. We wasted too much time in Brody's feelings and emotions for his ex-girlfriend. We did not really develop and flesh out his relationship with Delilah. And then Brody, it was obvious that Keeland loved writing Brody and loved writing in his voice, because she gave so much personality and character to Brody as a person. And Delilah, who is meant to be the main character, suffered for it. Like, I know Brody is the main love interest, but let's say she splits the point of views, the POVs in the book into 60% Delilah, 30% Brody, and 10% Brody's ex-girlfriend. Even though we got 60% of Delilah's point of view, we still connected better and deeper with Brody, because she made Brody more of this really engaging, fascinating person, and had Delilah fall flat. And I'm just really offended, because Delilah deserved better. We all deserve better. I gave this a 2 stars. Yes. Such a disappointment. Next, I read Serpent Dove by Shelby Mahurin. I already mentioned this book in my Hype Books I Absolutely Hated video. In this book, we follow a witch and a witch hunter technically kind of get the opportunity to, or rather are forced into a marriage, a convenient sort of marriage. The witch hunter, of course, as expected, come up, let go. The witch hunter, as expected, does not know that his wife is a witch. And the whole premise of this is just meant to be Lou, who is a witch in this case, basically realizes the opportune moment that being forced into marriage with a witch hunter affords her, because she's on the run. And Reed, who is the witch hunter, he accepts the marriage proposal because the religious figurehead, who is also his adopted father, basically wants him to. And see, that's the thing. The motivating factor for Lou going through with the marriage was technically stronger than Reed's. Personally, I think so. Anyway, they are forced into marriage, and turns out that Lou's secret has several layers that can mean the destruction and the end of a war that has been going on between the witches and the witch hunters for centuries. Now, this book set me up on the premise of enemies to lovers. That was why I read it. That was why I picked it up. That was what I was hoping to gain and get. I didn't get that, because like I always say, for enemies to lovers to work, to be done really well, there has to be the grudging respect and the the understanding that this other party is a badass. That's the reason why they cannot stand their ass. You know, it's present in the hating game, for example. They both recognize just how competent the other person is at the job, and that is one of the reasons why they also further cannot stand the other person. It's present in the Cruel Prince, right? Carden recognizes the strength that Jude possesses, and Jude recognizes the power that Carden has. There has to be a mutual form of respect in this, and honestly, for the longest time, it was not present in this. Reed was a bore. Reed was a misogynistic piece of shit for such a long time, and even at the grand reveal at the end, all I was just thinking was that, Lou, you could have done better. It's a pity that this book was not gay, because just imagine the epicness that would have been this story if this story had been a love story between Lou and Coco, between a white witch and a red witch. Think about it, especially considering the fact that both of their parental figures cannot stand the other person, and they are both each equally powerful in their own right, and they are both the inheritors of their different factions. Think about what we could have gotten if this book had been gay. Actually, think about what we could have gotten if this book just did not have Reed-diggery.
Why are you boring me? I'm right.
There were so much conveniences that happened in this book. For the longest time, nothing happened. I get it that Shelby was trying to get us in to understand, to get a feel of the marriage between Reed and Lou, was trying to give us an idea of what the Chelseas was like, etc., etc. And I rolled my eyes so fucking much in this book. I rolled my eyes so much that even the twist which regards Reed's parents that was brought in at the end of this book, I was just like, okay. A book did not connect to you. You know that you've gotten so used to all the conveniences that arise as a result of the book when it is that such a reveal is dropped, and you're just like, okay. That was my emotion with this book. Meh. The only character I absolutely adored in this, honestly, was Coco. Even the villain that was created in this book, she was very one note. The Archbishop, very one note. Jean Locke, I'm like, is that meant to be some sort of gay coding? Because there was something that Lou mentioned about how Jean Locke is blind to his own feelings, and I'm just like, Shelby, don't even think about it. Do not even. There is no setup. There is nothing to build to that. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm the only one that saw that. Maybe there is no queer coding, whatever attempted in this book, and everybody is just, everybody of note is straight, except for the witches that are gay in passing. Seriously, you're trying to tell me that two girls who grew up surrounded by witches in a society that is very highly matriarchal, and it's actually more common for the witches to be gay, both of them are conveniently straight. Seriously.
Impossible.
And then the ending. This book should be called The Book of Eye Rolls, because I had a lot of it. I was just rolling my eyes. I was like, a YA character in a book, rolling my eyes. I also held my breath a lot. When you hold your breath with that, is this book about to get good? Is it about to get good? Is it about to get good? Oh crap, it's not. That was me. I just kept yo-yoing all over my expectations. Eventually I just accepted to just set my expectation to ground zero, and I was no longer disappointed. So I'm trying to talk about this book without necessarily giving it too much spoilers, but I would say that I enjoyed the instances of blood magic in this book and how it worked. I also loved the way in which Lou's magic works, I own the Blanche with the white witches, the way in which their magic works with the patterns. Once again, that ending with Reed, I'm just like, how convenient. But yeah, I did give this 2.5 stars. So I gave it 0.5 stars more than the Baller, but it was still not a gripping book for me. Right? Now, moving on to the rest of the books that were definitely worth it and own me, mind, body, soul. Starting with Girl, Serpent, Thorn by Melissa Bashardoust. Now, this book, one, is inspired by Persian mythology. We follow a young girl, a princess, on whom a curse has been placed. The curse being that anybody who touches her dies. And so she's someone who is starved for attention. She's someone who is starved for touch. She's someone who is starved for love. But she's also a princess who goes on this journey, this quest to find her agency. That is something that is really central to this book. The fact that, you know, a lot of the time when you're looking at a lot of fairy tales, and this book is a mixture of Persian mythology and fairy tales, and a lot of the time when you're looking at fairy tales, especially when you're looking at the stories of the princesses, one, they rarely have much agency, and two, they are always unanimously good, right? Soraya in this book is not good. Yes, she wants to be, but she's realistic in the fact that when it is that someone is so desperate for attention, is so desperate for love, is so desperate to be seen, to be heard, and to be touched, it's understandable when it is that they would do anything to try and find some form of normalcy. And when this search for normalcy ends up unleashing a great evil on her family and on her people, Soraya has to rise to the occasion to fight, and also ends up realizing that what she thought was a curse might not have been after all. I really love this book. I love the fact that it maintained the fairy tale aspect. It was magical, it was whimsical, but it also had the dark depth of mythology. It was filled with demons and beings that are as powerful as gods, some of them benevolent, some of them highly malevolent, and also very manipulative, but also at the same time not being one note. I love the fact that the villain in this story, you could empathize with them, you could see the humanity present in them, even as you wanted Soraya to defeat them, even as you wanted them to pay, but you understood why they were the way they were. This book just showed that human beings and even creatures that are not necessarily human are capable of both. They are capable of light and darkness. They are capable of love and hate. They are capable of mercy and destruction, and trying to believe that one person is all good or all bad in itself does both the person you believe such a thing of and yourself a huge disservice. This book is also beautifully gay and queer, and like they are sapphic girls, and they are sapphic girls in love, and it's just moth-like and beautiful and soft, and I smiled, I squealed. I love this book. Oh god, I love this book. It was a calming balm to my soul, especially after the disappointment that was the Bola and Serpent Dove. Like, I really did enjoy it, and the fact that this was a standalone novel, right? A little over 300 pages, and Melissa Bashardoust knew, you could tell that the writer knew what story she wanted to tell, and she set out to tell it. Now, I'm going to admit that this book might be a little slow getting into it, but it does pick up so well, and then eventually you find yourself flipping the pages, wanting to know what happens, wanting to know what happens next. It's also inspired by the Shahnameh, which is the Persian epic that features the gods, the myth, the legends, everything. So kind of like Homer's Odyssey and Iliad, you know, and Dante's Inferno. So it chronicles the religion and life of the people of Persia, who are now modern day, present day Iran. I loved this book. I gave it a 4 stars. I cannot wait to reread it. I love the fact that Melissa told us a complete story and she ended it, but honestly, I love this world. I would not mind returning to it in like a sister companion novel, following another character or someone like close or similar to them. Next, I read French Kissing Season 1 by Harper Bliss. I listened to this on audio, and oh my god. You know, when I was complaining about the fact that the baller like gave us big dick but didn't give us big dick energy, it was just there, useless, floppy nonsense. And I complained about the fact that Serpent and Dove did not have any significant sapphic love or rep. After dealing with that double combo of disappointment, to be given French Kissing by Harper Bliss. One, if you read this book and you're single, like single as fuck, I can guarantee that Harper Bliss would have you going fuck. This book had me contemplating, you know.
Single, like I'm cute, I'm funny, and I have great personality. Girl, You are single because when you laugh, you sound like Satan. Oh, maybe I am Satan.
There's something about a lesbian, right, writing a book filled with lesbian and other sapphic characters, giving us Paris, wine, sex. Oh, the sex. There was like sex in practically every other chapter. Not your fade to black sex scenes that we get in, like, no, this was vivid sex. Everything sex. Like, there was finger action and tongue action and scissoring and bondage and voyeurism and dildos and like every... This book was sexy. This book was sapphic, excellent, sexy, and it was also dramatic. Like, this book had the drama. Oh my god, this book had the the drama. This is like primetime TV level of drama.
We went back to your house and I slept with him in your bed. You did what?
Like, oh, these two people, their relationships are on the rock. This one did this, this one did that. There is the back and forth. They're almost separated. All that drama. You have another character who is basically having this affair with one of their clients at their public relations firm. But get this, the client is a high-profile politician and the face of the Conservative Party in France, right? There is that. And then you have another one who is decided that, you know what, she's looking for a girlfriend now and she wants to settle down. And, you know, she's match made with this hot doctor. Like, when a book starts, like when a book introduces a character, a lesbian, on a motorcycle, I just... with leather, who's a surgeon, like multiple levels of damn. They're having that whole dating thing, and then an ex-girlfriend comes in and the drama. Like, this book was filled with layers, several layers of drama that I was living for. Like I said, it was prime time entertainment with a lot of sex. Like, I repeat, there are 5 seasons. You can bet that I'm going to be reading season 2 this month because I need to savor and I need more of these characters with their drama and all the complications and all the breaking ups and the making ups. And I repeat, the sex was good in this book. Harper Bliss has a talent for dropping you straight into the bones and the feelings and the emotions of this character. You find yourself connecting with them. You find yourself rooting for them. And this is the reason why I always love to advocate own voices novels, because there's nothing as satisfying as reading a book that represents who you are, a part of your identity, written by someone who also identifies the same and who is able to capture the authenticity of that experience, whether it has to do with emotions or just how good the sex is. But not just the sex, it's the characters. He's been able to tell a story like that and still being able to give these characters like full-on character development. We see them grow and evolve and change throughout the course of the book, but at the same time they still stay true to the core of who they are. Now, yes, do I have some complaints about some of the characters? Margot! Yes, I do. But I love this book. I gave it a 4.75 stars. It would have been a 5 stars. I took away that 0.25 star because I'm a petty ass bitch. Because when you tell me Margot is Asian, I'm like,
the hell does that mean?
Specifics. Asia is a big ass continent. Don't just say Margot is Asian. Like, what the fuck? So that was the reason why I took away the 0.25 stars. Like, it was like a 5-star perfect ass read, you know, steamy, sexy, emotional, all the feels and all the emotions and everything else. And oh my god, lesbians, you all in. I'm just like, thank you. Like, I was enjoying all that, and then boom, Margot is Asian. I'm just like, I docked it 0.25 star. I do not feel guilty about it. It's still a very great book, and I'm definitely going to be rounding it up to 5 stars on Goodreads, but I cannot wait for season 2. So yes. And then finally, the last book I read, actually the last book I finished, because I started so many books in July. Like, hopefully my August wrap up is probably going to be way longer with way more books, because there's so many books I started in July that I carried over into August, and I'm going to be finishing in August. But The last book I read in July was, drumroll please, The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. Can we all take a moment for the magnificence that is N.K. Jemisin, for the brilliance that is her mind to come up with a concept like this? Because what is the book ultimately about? The book takes place in New York City, and in New York, the city is about to be born. But what that also means is that there's also an entity waiting for the city to be born, the personification of the city to be born, so that they can kill the city. But in order to protect itself, the city produces 5 souls. 5 souls that represent the core of exactly what makes New York, New York. Representing the boroughs: Manhattan, Brooklyn, the Bronx, Queens, and Staten Island. And have you ever read a book that made your perception of time itself shift? Have you ever read a book that made you realize that your relationship with words has always been surface level? Have you ever read a book that felt you with psychedelic imaginings and had words and visions and colors diffusing through every pore of your being? Have you ever read a book that you felt the words start like a tingle from the soles of your feet and it spreads all the way up to the tops of your hairs, sizzling your body? You feel yourself breaking out in goosebumps. You feel the little hairs all over your body standing in attention because of the brilliance, the magnificence of a mind that would conceptualize and bring together this book and put together these words and give you this story that just has you catching your breath and wondering that, do people write like this? Is this even real? Is this possible? Can a book leave you awed and amazed and mystified and glowing? Because I felt myself glowing when I finished The City We Became. I felt myself walking on air when I was finished with The City We Became. I still have not recovered from the brilliance that is The City We Became. The tension, the villain. It was just deliciously Lovecraftian and creepy, and I would just like to say that tentacles. And I read this book at night. I also read the tentacle scene whilst eating a bowl of noodles. It made that noodle taste even way more delicious than I thought possible. Like, goddamn, like, and the characters, these full-fledged characters, these characters that are a personification of what it is to be New York. This book is a love letter and a love story to New York. And I know so many people are like, I could not understand this book because I'm not a New Yorker. But see, that's the thing, I'm not even American. But do you know why I connected so deeply with it? One, because N.K. Jemisin did a shout out to Lagos, and I'm just like, thank you so much, N.K. Jemisin. But as someone who moved to Lagos in 2012, I have been living in this city for 8 years. When N.K. Jemisin was talking about how a city is born and talked about, the bringing together, the fusion of colors and languages, and how it is that this perfect amalgamation of different tribes and different people come together to create this explosion that births a city, and how so many cities have gone through it, and I flashed back to the beginning when she said that Lagos has experienced it, and at that point I felt it, because see, it is totally possible. That's the thing about this book, the fact that it is possible. I could totally see it happen. I could totally see cities having souls. I could totally see Lagos having souls, because this city that I call home is that it has the energy, the vibrancy, the beauty, the magnificence, the horror, the cynicism, the awareness of its perfect representation of the hustle that is the Nigerian spirit. That is Lagos. That is the city I call home. And I could see that represented in New York as well. Like, I could replace New York and put in Lagos. And I think that that's one reason why this story connected so deeply with me, because it's so real to life for me. I could legitimately say happening. And I think that was why this could be anywhere. This is my first N.K. Jemisin novel, and when I'm told that the Broken Earth trilogy is even miles out of this world, and I'm just like, my body and my soul and my spirit are not ready, because clearly N.K. Jemisin wants to own me heart, body, soul, and I volunteer myself and my heart and my soul and my being as tribute, because what the fuck? Wow. 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 So yes, this book just, I can wax lyrical about it for ages. I'm still going to do a reread of it when I get a physical copy, because I'm going to also I listen to this on audio, and if you've read this book physically and never listened to it on audio, you need to do a reread with like following it through on like in a physical format, but also listen to it on audio, because the audio presentation, goddamn, the city we became is what the diviners wished it was. The city we became is what the diviners hoped it could be. The city we became is what the diviners dreamed of being and failed on an epic scale.
Don't
Shorten your
compare
dress. They would
yourself
never
to me.
They would
ever.
never make you walk in a
are
dress
not on my
that
level,
much
Nicole.
longer.
You never will be on my level.
Liber Bray ain't N.K. Jemisin? Fuck out of here. Of course she's not. God fucking damn. The city we became. That book. I want to marry N.K. Jemisin's mind. I want to legit walk down the aisle with her mind. Someone told me once that when I really get excited about a book I love, I sound like I'm turned on, and I'm just like, yo, N.K. Jemisin, turn me the fuck out with this book. Like, damn. I had a book orgasm, and I'm still floating on that high. Every time I remember this book, I get those happy feels, and I get that tingle. My skin is glowing because N.K. Jemisin fucked my mind good. Like, really, really good. Really goddamn good. So yeah, the city we became, people. Excellent, brilliant, fantastic. I know people are like, the ending was rushed, but honestly, as someone from Ibadan who has built my life for myself in Lagos, I totally could buy that ending. And I didn't mind, because it just means we get to see the gang in book 2. And the fact that we might not see book 2 for like, 2-3 years. Someone tell me, what is the interval that N.K. Jemisin takes in between her books? I wish I could give... That book owns my heart, my body, my soul, my spirit, my destiny. My ancestors are over here looking down at me and be like, Noria, what the fuck? Keep your fucking legs closed. It's just a fucking book. And I'm just like, you say that, but you've not read the book yet. The city we became. And goddamn, Robin Miles voicing that audiobook.
Talented, brilliant, incredible, amazing, show-stopping, spectacular, never the same, totally unique, completely not ever been done before. Put it in a blender, shit on it, vomit on it, eat it, give birth to it.
I heard a voice so fucking versatile. I got pregnant with its babies. Like, that was me with Robin Miles voicing this book. Like, Jesus. The city we became. I hope sincerely I've been able to convey all the things that this book made me feel without spoiling the book for you, because I do not want to spoil an inch of this book. This is a book you need to go in blind and be like, yo, the fuck is this? Like, definitely that book. If you decide to check it out, I don't know, because like you have taste and you're like, Noria has good taste. I have all the links for all the books I talked about in the description bar below. Click on it. It's an affiliate link. Yes, I make a little something tiny, small, minuscule. Who knows? I might be able to buy myself a headband, because I also do need to get headband, but like all those cheap ass plastic headbands, I'm able to get myself a headband with it. So minuscule amount, but yeah, it could be fun. But that is my wrap up. Of course, it goes without saying that I gave The City We Became 5 stars. Like, if I could give that book my babies, my non-existent babies, if I could just remove my womb and present my womb to this book, I will present my motherfucking womb to the book. Like, that is how much I'm in love with The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. You all know how much I love The Poppy War, right, by R.F. Kuang. Like, that book is my brand. But I kid you not, the Burning God has to put in effort and work to bump The City We Became from its top spot as the #1 book for me of 2020. Like, if you've been on my channel, you know how much I die for The Poppy War. I'm telling you, like, god damn. But yeah, that is my wrap-up. 5 books read in July. 2 of them, but the last 3, especially The City We Became, worth it. Let me know down in the comments down below what were your favorite books you read in July. Bonus point if it's a book that surprised you in the best of ways, because you all know I'm always looking for a new favorite. If you like this video, please do not forget to give it a big thumbs up. Like it, share it, drop a comment, like, interact, engage. Let me know you love my content. You know. If you're not yet subscribed to my channel, check out my other videos. I have a lot of them. If you like what you see, then hit subscribe. Also, do not forget to click on the bell. Like, after you've hit subscribe, click on that bell again so that you have all notifications turned on so you don't miss any of my videos. My regular upload schedule, of course, is every Wednesdays and Sundays at 2 p.m. EST. Yes, that is every Wednesdays and Sundays at 2 p.m. EST. You get a new video from me, myself, and I. Until next time, when I see you, stay passionate, love books, love yourself. Bye.